warm afternoon, and yes, we are back after a very delicious lunch on a wonderful, wonderful keynote session from local to keynote panel actually, and it has a wonderful topic from local to global. Yes, I Sumit Kaur welcome you all to this session. अगर बात हो रही है लोकल से ग्लोबल जाने की तो हम बातचीत भी थोड़ी लोकल भाषा में कर लेते हैं. And yes, we have wonderful speakers with us. Mr. Vikram Raj, he is CEO and tier. Mr. Inderveer Singh, founder and CEO EVage. Yeah. Mr. Navdeep Gill, he is global CEO XenonStack. And then we have a moderator with us, Mr. Piyush Garg. He is Vice President with CEED. Definitely, these gentlemen are doing huge work for taking local brands to the global channel. And yes, obviously, global platforms have been waiting for our local talent in various ways. So let's just start discussion. This session हम शुरू करते हैं. Yes, we can have a question round very briefly after the session is over. So keep your questions in mind. Our volunteers will be there to give you a mic. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. So, on behalf of the entire panel, I extend my greetings to everyone. मैम ने कहा मैम थोड़ा हिंदी इंग्लिश मिक्स चलेगा?
Yes.
ठीक है. So, local to global, or if we say global, will it work? Right? और आजकल के टाइम पे ये है कि किसी सेशन में किसी पैनल में अगर कोविड का नाम ना मेंशन करो ना तो वो सेशन अधूरा रह जाता है. So, pandemic, COVID, all these things. We have been looking at different economies around the globe, and we have seen that with the emerging trends, every economy in different countries are becoming interconnected. And pandemic just actually, which is the mother of all the events, triggered this interconnected economies, which became altogether more important for all the sectors and domains to work closely, to work in tandem with each other. And that is why we work on this particular panel discussion where we say that local to global, where we have these industry stalwarts coming from diversified areas in technology, one who is working in different technologies in emerging tech, Web3, blockchain technologies, Mr. Gill who is working on quantum and AI, Mr. Inderveer who is actually pioneer in EV technologies. And why we have actually such a diversified panel, just to showcase to you that local to global is something which is not an innovative process in itself, but it is much in demand. It is much in need of the hour, right? So with that, when we say that there are certain opportunities, it's also important for us to understand that with any new opportunities also come new challenges, new nuances. Because global interconnected economies, we have to also understand that how the demography plays, how the geography plays. So with that, I would like to get the insight first with Mr. Vikram. Sir, you are working on emerging technologies, right? So when we talk about Web3 or when we talk about blockchain technologies, how do you see that these emerging technologies are actually connecting our local resources and local MSMEs or entrepreneurs and providing them the global opportunities?
Right. So I would say, for any kind of business to be successful, it is very important to find their USP, right? And I would rather link it with our own story. Like when in 2017 we had our first I would say success in our business, getting into our own infrastructure. So you are looking around that what should be our USP now, moving forward, how we can go further, how can we take the organization towards greater heights. So I was looking around, and so I'm just telling my own story, so maybe you guys can relate to that. So, and crypto was making a lot of noise at that point of time, and so I went behind the the technology and tried to understand why was the need to invent crypto actually, and why when I delved deeper into that part, and I found that First was the kind of a complete ownership, like when there used to be like economic recession in the West, people used to lose their kind of like hard-earned money, right? Second, the international kind of the payments was the kind of a nightmare. Like वो कहते थे पहले कि ये तो सी UK पैसे भेजने हैं तो just take a flight and send it. That way that is easy, right? And third was the financial inclusion. Like it was very difficult for banks to kind of set up their operations in a remote area, and kind of incurring a huge cost as well. So these are the few factors, what led us, so we completely sold out on the secret kind of vision, though it landed in the wrong hands, I would say. And we have already always believed that whether these crypto or maybe per se any cryptocurrency will be able to make it to the government regulation, but one thing it will be able to achieve, that it will force the government to come up with their own CBDCs, right? So that was the belief which kind of we carried while we and when we evolved with this kind of into this domain. And fast forward 6 years, we have already now seen how the all the most of the governments have started coming up with their own CBDCs. And but at the same time, we have another prediction, I would say, but the judgment, I would say, like our own opinion or observation, that till the time the CBDC does not bring those kind of features which the cryptos provide, so it will take them it will take some time for them to kind of get into the mainstream things. So for us, how it has worked for us as a local company, so it has given us an edge actually, and currently we are one of the largest talent pool in the blockchain space, Web3 space. And I would say if we go a bit, even I will take a kind of the things a little bit more deeper. What is Web3 like? So what was the problem with the Web 2.0? Right? Why do we need Web3 as well? So the problem with the, I would say problem with the Web 2.0 is like the identity theft. Then we have the data security, and then we have the equal distribution of kind of opportunity for the people who kind of create data on the internet, then taking the two-dimensional internet to maybe more immersive experience, which is metaverse. And last but not least is having a robust system in place so that it can interact with the digital currencies as well. So these are the 4 or 5 aspects which kind of cumulatively collectively make the Web3 space, right? And blockchain had that kind of all the attributes which could kind of address the future of internet, what we call as Web3. And talking about the metaverse as well. So crypto is meta is crypto, and DeFi is the kind of crypto is the currency of metaverse, and DeFi is the banking for the metaverse. So the USP again, so the kind of embracing the new technology and keeping a very close watch over the trends which are happening in the market. That is the way to go actually to take your brand to the global level.
Thank you, sir. So just for the benefit of the audience, what is CBDC?
Central bank digital currencies.
Right. So was it a challenge or was it an opportunity?
I would say opportunity as well. So because होता क्या है when something gets invented, तो 10-15 साल में ना वही चीज़ें problems भी create करने लग जाती हैं, है ना? पहले जब there was no way how we can send money across the border, and financial money was like the paper currencies were invented or these kind of stuff happened. But उसमें फिर expectation बढ़ती जाती है. So अगर we talk about Web3, or maybe blockchain. So how we look at blockchain is not a kind of disruptive technology. अगर वो कह रहे कि it can produce low cost solution and kind of disrupt the entire things, that is not. Blockchain is a foundational technology basically, and I would say we can very easily draw a parallel, between in the evolution of blockchain and vis-a-vis the evolution of TCP/IP. So if you guys remember, it was TCP/IP was invented in 1972, right? And the first use case was
Tenant bomb में तो सर ऐसे लिखा था.
हाँ जी. So the first use case was internal communication, email, right? For the US research departments, right? At that point of time, I would say the जो network था, telecommunication का जो network था, that was working on the sockets programming. They had to establish the connection between the two machines first, and then somebody could, kind of like talk between each other, right? So, but when TCP/IP came, it kind of totally reversed the things. Like, it said like we can send the, we can digitize the data and put it into like packets with the address as well and float it into the open network, and it can, kind of like go to the desired address wherever it is, bound to be, right? So it took, I would say, decades, maybe like 10, 15 years for the telecom companies to kind of start uplifting or maybe the upgrading their infrastructure so that they could, kind of endorse this technology. So that was the first phase, like whenever, so I would like to mention over here, like for any foundational technologies to be in the mainstream, there is a process actually. So there are two factors which are very much responsible for, though I'm taking the things a little away from the question, but I think it's very beneficial for everyone to understand. So any foundation technology to come into the mainstream, there are two very important factors. One is the novelty. To the degree with up to what degree any new technology is new and maybe hard to understand or easy to understand. That is one factor, and the other way is the other thing is the, I would say, the complexity, the level of ecosystem support, the hardware part, the regulatory part, the government part, the social part, the organizational part is required to endorse that technology, right? And combined with these two, when you draw a quadrant, so there are four phases which are responsible. So every technology progress, this foundational technology progress this from these four phases. The very first phase where there is a low novelty and low complexity. So this is the single use cases. So just say like TCP/IP came, so they like it was for the email only, peer to peer, very much understood TCAP from the email. The text has to be there. The similar way when blockchain came, the single use case was Bitcoin. The Bitcoin was the one out of 999 application of the blockchain and any other cryptocurrency.
I emphasize the fact that Bitcoin is just the one of the applications of the blockchain. So some of us feel that blockchain is Bitcoin, Bitcoin is blockchain. Right? So that's not the fact. So we were actually having a discussion on this thing, and it's very important for us to understand that when we talk about the technology, foundational technology should solve the problems. It's not that if there is a technology that it should be incorporated in all the problems. Right? So with that, I would like to move to Inderveer ji. Sir, you're pioneering in automotive in EV sector, right? EV sector in itself is such a close-knit ecosystem that whenever new technology comes up, it's the entire ecosystem of the value chain. And going by the theme of this particular session, local to global, how do you think that when we are transitioning to EV space, that this value chain would also be leveraging the resources from the local industries and serving the international markets?
So, first of all, I am an outlier in this panel. We have a lot of tech people, software people, and whatever you said about the pandemic, and I'm also a panelist, I have to use that, got it. So, essentially, things have changed differently for the manufacturing sector, right? Earlier, China was the factory to the world, and now there's a China plus one strategy, there's a localization strategy hitting place, specifically in the fabs and semiconductors. So, until, and the era before the pandemic, which was the globalization era, and now we are moving towards a localization era, essentially, where the supply chain has to be closer to the facility that you are in as an OE or an automotive manufacturer. So there's a shift that is taking place essentially within the global automotive supply chains, where they're trying to localize certain percentage of their value chain because of the disruptions the world has seen, and also the destabilization of the geopolitical situation, whatever happened between Ukraine, Russia. There's something going on with the southeastern countries. So overall, the move for the larger players is to essentially go local and have certain percentage of the risk mitigated from that factor. Having said that, it took 5 decades to set a globalized supply chain. it's not going to take 5 years to localize it.
Disrupt that.
Yeah. And there are a lot of factors, right? The skill sets. I take example for the developed countries. I am a personal proponent of course, there are core technologies which will take your country forward. But countries that have manufacturing as their core, and a lot of budding entrepreneurs in the room, I would always want them to look at manufacturing, which is a slightly non-glamorous industry to enter into. But any nation that has a strong manufacturing base is one which will be able to sustain through difficult times, right? China is a classic example. They started as a factory to the US. Today the world economy can destabilize if something sort of happens into Chinese manufacturing facilities. We saw that with the fabs, right, semiconductors. So essentially it's very important from a nation building standpoint to invest into manufacturing, and also from a personal standpoint, because there are returns to be had if you manufacture well. There are policy strategies to deploy. So localized manufacturing is important. There are certain policy level changes, like there is a labor cost arbitrage that we have in India over the global world. There is a knowledge that is being created in India, which is not true for say US, right? Even if they have to localize, Apple tried taking their factories. I think it's 5 years they announced, not even a single one is working right now. Because the skill set, they have lost that skill set. It took 5 decades to teach the Chinese, and then they lost the experts in that field. Now the Chinese are coming back and teaching them, right? So it's important to develop these skill sets. India luckily has that. We have the labor cost advantage. We have the raw materials, as in we mine a lot of the minerals within India. So we can form a well-knit value system, supply chain to support the global economy and create a competitive advantage for whoever is buying stuff from us. And from an EV perspective, there's still a huge skill gap. What has happened is when we move from an ICE engine to essentially an electric powered or propulsion vehicle, a lot of things change. The only thing that are common is it would possibly run on 4 wheels. Someday it may fly, but currently it's on 4 wheels and it runs on the same tarmac. But beyond that, a lot of changes are happening. There's a lot of software that goes into it. I was just reading, and we built it also. So I think it's some 70 to 80 million lines of code that goes into an average automobile. So there's a lot of software. There's a lot of electronics that are going into it. Motors are coming in. Actuators are being used instead of mechanical parts. So there's a lot of tectonic shift that is happening. This creates an opportunity for budding entrepreneurs over here and to get into some disruptive technologies which will change. If you try to do what China is doing at a lower cost or at the same cost, there's nothing great that you bring to the world. Right? You have to think out of the box, get a disruptive technology that can be integrated into a vehicle platform. And that's where your value would come as potential manufacturers, partners to a value chain. And the more localization happens, the more opportunities will come up, because we're losing out China. Even Europe, right? A lot of the high-tech stuff comes from Europe or Japan for that matter. That has also to be recreated within India. And if you look at the Indian automotive ecosystem, the largest suppliers by value or rupees in revenue is Bosch, followed by ZF Wabco, followed by Urban Meritor, Denso. All are American, European, Japanese brands. So that's the potential available to localize the thing, and with electric vehicle manufacturing, that window of opportunity will be there to bring in new skill sets and localize it. Toyota is the most valuable car manufacturer until Tesla came over till 2 years back. Still, they make the most number of vehicles with almost the highest profit. Right? Why? Because they have a localized supply chain. The software is created by Denso, the electronics by Denso. There's a body manufacturing joint venture which Toyota has locally. And similarly, what we at EVage would look at such opportunities to create our own ecosystem to be successful. And I agree on the value chain part, right? Because it will be this value chain that we create competing with, say, a Daimler value chain or a Tesla value chain. That's the differentiation that would come in.
Very well said, very well said. So it's important for us to understand whenever we talk about the EV space, it's not just the battery and the motor which is mounted into a two-wheel or four-wheel segments. It's actually an integrated or amalgamation of different technologies which need to work together in tandem, and that can only be possible when we have an ecosystem an interconnected ecosystem which is at play. Now, sir, we would like to move to you, one of the pioneers in AI technologies and working very deeply into quantum technologies as well. So, sir, what do you think that, what is your opinion that when we talk about these two new deep tech technologies, AI and quantum, how they can actually revolutionize and how they can actually be used to leverage the local communities and connecting it to the global communities?
I'm taking forward the COVID and the manufacturing problem. So today we have a pandemic and we need a medicine tomorrow. The simple thing earlier has to take is 9 months. And with the AI and the quantum, if the pandemic happened today, tomorrow you will get a medicine. So that is the vision of in healthcare, they will be working on that vision. And same in the manufacturing sector. So there are a lot of things in a design, in a simulation part, which take a lot of time to design something, do the pilot. With AI and quantum, the things will make a little fast. Now the future is in pharmacy. So that here what healthcare, they have to do the trials. Now the biggest thing with AI coming is the synthetic data. So we able to create synthetic data with AI to rather doing a trials on the humans and other things. So we will having a synthetic data. So we will, that is the biggest thing with AI coming in next 3 years. They will be going with synthetic data. So a lot of use cases will be in manufacturing, pharmacy, healthcare, that will be bringing them. And technology will take time. So when I started in 2012, I started on a real-time analytics problem. So we don't have a real-time analytics for the cell site. So today we are sitting here, we have a call drop. To process that call drop, we build a system, it takes 6 hours to give that input. Okay, this is now with the cloud native technologies and the AI, we will be able to resolve these things in real time. Okay, this happened. The second problem with AI is you can enable the correlation of events. So if something happened, breakdown, why happened? What is the order of the events happened? That's why this breakdown happened. A human can't do that. Human has not that deep analysis. They can make it. Now the same thing when you are working, you guys are working on building something. So the problem not is on the AI bringing a lot of opportunities in core sectors, manufacturing, supply chain, industry, hospital insurance, where you guys can focus and you can have not work on larger problems. So a lot of people say that, okay, I need a lot of data to build AI system. So that myth is gone. So you need a small data. It should be a good data. Your model should give them the accuracy rightly on whatever you are building. Take the case of Apple use all your AI in your phone. They are giving them the sensibility. They are just using simple models on simple data set. They are not building whole bigger data set challenges that okay, this will be good. So when you something which is a problem in North India, that problem can't be replicated into South India, that can't be replicated into the global. So now when you are from a local to going into global, in AI world, you have to see the rules change every morning. So today you are the rules which you are doing analysis in Chandigarh, same data set, same application, not going to work in Dubai because the rule, regulation, laws on these things are different. So choosing a problem which is global, that is your first take. Okay, this can be replicated. Like in manufacturing, you can replicate. There is no that type of. When you are treating AI on humans, the rules will come a lot. So choose that problem when working on AI, which can become global, and there is no rules and regulations come into the picture.
Very well, sir. And thank you for bringing up this concern once again, because when we think about local to global, it's not just the opportunity, it's a set of challenges, new upcoming challenges, which changes with the demography, which changes with the geography, which changes within the country itself, it changes from region to region. Now, with that, I would like to once again request Mr. Vikram, and sir, if you permit, because we were actually just having the discussion over a cup of coffee, and if you permit me, sir actually has a very humble background. He is not from a deep tech background, right? But still, he has actually made a mark for himself and his venture in deep technologies. So, sir, how difficult it was for you, and when Mr. Gill actually talked about the challenges in the ecosystem, when specifically from local to global, or the kind of data sets which we have to deal. So what are some of the challenges which any upcoming entrepreneur or MSME may face when targeting the international audience?
I would say like again kind of like from our story, right? The very first is the talent part, right? Especially when you're working in a deep tech or maybe new technologies. And so we face those challenges, and the kind of a solution we could kind of work out is like having our own learning and development division, right, in-house. So that we kind of like identified that thing in the very beginning, that if we have to like succeed in this domain, that we have to bake our own bread, right? So that was the thought that with that thought we set up our own L&D division and starting training our own resources. The second challenge I would say is the challenge of mindset, right? So when you are hiring from local colleges, universities, you got a brilliant talent. However, the product mindset, like so it doesn't come easily to people, like the teams, right? And since you are working in a tier 2 city, right? And most of the good projects, land in tier 1 cities only, Bangalore and Hyderabad. If you are like into service industry, you will say like the mindset in resource, the kind of resources they carry in Bangalore, the product mindset. We generally find it a little hard actually to get it over here, and it is directly proportional to the kind of opportunity which gets landed into the cities like Bangalore and Pune, and as compared to the, because we like Mohali used to be, I would say like most of the companies started their journeys from Modex and Upwork, right, retail things, right? But till the time you don't work with the enterprises, it's very difficult to kind of live up to the expectation. When we learn those key, I would say the skill set and the mindsets to produce those world-class products, right? Till the time you don't land those opportunities. And then if you have to do that, then again you have to find the right talent to attract those kind of opportunity, and then maybe having some international routes will all definitely help you. So like in answering your question, like the kind of challenges the startups would they should kind of like be prepared to address is the number one, I would say, like the talent part. The second is the right mindset, and third is, I would say, like which is kind of very holistic approach towards their business, right? Like having 360-degree understanding of like what the customer need, what they are trying to achieve actually, where they want to go, right? Like we generally tell our team as well, ki if you don't know where you are going, then any road can take you there. So it's very important that you must understand that what do you want to achieve, right? With that thing, like you can kind of like keeping that thing in mind, then you kind of break it down, kind of like what all you need to achieve, and then what are the challenges you can foresee. And this mentoring is very important. You must have like people around you who can guide you throughout your journey. And if you don't have people around you, that's again we tell our team members as well, like वो कहते हैं ना कि you are the average of those 5 people you spend most time with. But is it going to be a life sentence if you don't have those people around you, the kind of people you want to be, the kind of person you want to become? Then we say like you will be the type of person next 5 years, the kind of books you read. So it's very important for entrepreneur, local entrepreneur, any entrepreneur challenges. Only that will be my 2 cents.
Beautiful, beautiful. So certain keywords which I would like to pick up from your answer: bake your own bread. That's very important. And the kind of person you would become is the kind of books you read. The importance of continuous learning. and all three panel members significantly highlighted the importance of moving from service. So with that, Inderveer, I would just like to understand, when we're talking about the challenges, how do you see that? Because see, when we talk about Tesla or when we talk about CBU units, CBU kits being available in India, it's a big challenge to the Indian EV industry. How do you see that in the next 3 or 5 years, EV industry per se would be countering that?
So, automotive industry in India has been really lucky. If you look at it, in the 90s when globalization started, brands are still Maruti, Tata, Mahindra to some extent. What has happened, if we realize, before globalization happened, we had very few manufacturers in India. With the advent of globalization, Tata has got better. They got bigger and bought out JLR. Mahindra has got better. So the local manufacturing only improved with competition coming in. And I'm a big proponent of the fact that the more competition it is, it's great for the customer, but great for you as well, because you expedite your speed of change if you want to survive, right? If you don't want to survive, there's no way out, right?
If things has to happen at a local level, there should be some dedicated credits or dedicated units where all three, manufacturing, healthcare, any domain experts and the software or AI people working, and they work on a problem which they can build something on. AI without now the design simulation, now the countries which are leaders in G7, you check they are manufacturing hubs. Earlier, now they shifted, America shifted to China, but then they told me they trained Chinese people for manufacturing. They're not China people done their own. See Germany, they are the leaders on that part. And if you think the manufacturing, the France, I wrote history. So on the Kiran Deshpande we are discussing morning, we don't learn from a history, how the country become manufacturing hub. Everybody wear Gucci, everywhere wear Louis Vuitton, but they don't know why France started this. Because London become a financial hub, Germany become manufacturing hub, and the great fathers of France, they think, okay, we have to do something where they both can spend money. So they build a fashion industry. It's not the things are. So we have to learn the history also as an entrepreneur. When you are reading books, they read how the things become, how some country become so pioneer in anything. There is the history of it. So if you know the history, the things will take, have a preservance. So you have to give 10 years, like Tesla story. The Apple story is same. 30, 40 years, they make a shit thing. On any Mac, on anything, they make a shit thing. But they learn the hard way. And what a good thing about that thing in the local system, I also encourage here is, I asked some investor, okay, if I lost your money, you have to do only one promise. Next time you starting any idea, I will be your first investor. This is only you have to give me in return. If you fail, okay. But the next idea which you work, you have to take money, I will be the first investor. You have to come to me only. So that is the ecosystem, that is an encouragement of universities. These days, we are the hub. I think in the world, we don't have in the 100 kilometers, in any part of the world, the depth and the diverse education which we have in Delhi. Diverse. It's not only engineering hub, it's not only hub, but we have a very diverse 100 kilometer. We have a diverse education institute at top of the institutes, but they are not collaborating. Their way of dealing and a lot of things, you should be a product company. How I will make a product? When I get assess, the mindset, like both the panels, so the mindset of product, it takes time. It's not an easy game. I'm happy our education system is changing. The design thinking is coming in 6th. But the problem is Stanford told design is something else and thinking is something else. They changed their syllabus in Stanford and we copied it. They said, no, now what Stanford done? They coined design thinking. Now after 10 years of research, they told, oh no, we've done something very wrong.
It's the same professor, damn normal.
Yeah, same professor. The design is something else and thinking is something else. And what we have done in India, we are now, at least in education system, we are taking steps. But we have to be too real time. Their research has given me this results, we have to implement new ways of thinking. If we, in design, you do the visual design, you tell your kids, now here we take the journal. So now the world is saying, do not write journal. You do a sketch of whatever you have done in a day, you do in a sketch. You will get more ability to do the thing. So there are basic things which our ecosystem, the engineering graduates comes to the college or the problem. So I used to do that, sir. So I'm doing from last 10 years, sir. I'm not making money on the thing. I'm doing day by day research and research from last 11, 13 years now. I have gone through all the phases of technology change happening. If I tell some PhD guy, let's do one, sir, give me a problem statement. If I know the problem statement, then I can develop it. We both have to work to define the problem. So what I will do? I don't know. So that is the problem. The researchers, masters and the PhD people, they not come with the open mind. They come with the rigid mind that, okay, I have to do this way. If the company provides, it's okay. We don't hire the experienced people, so we believe they are not suited to us. So we build from, the person come from interns, because what I learned because I'm the son of a farmer, so why farming has issues? Because they're not making their seeds. They outsourced their seeds to somebody else. They buy from the market and go to Gurdwara or in Mandir, pray that the seed will give us this much of return. If something happens, they buy fertilizers and pesticides to grow that. But they don't know the exact problem to that. And this is good happen in Ukraine. So you learn this story, what happened to Africa due to the Ukraine and Russia war. The world is giving them maize and wheat. So if you go deep into the food industry, so there are only two places in the world, Africa and India, where the millets grow. So the West forced them with the supply from Ukraine and Russia on a wheat and maize, and they left the farming of millets. But with Ukraine war, with supply chain problem, they okay, we don't have a supply, we have to grow their own seeds. And now the people, there is a good documentary on that, they're giving the example that we are now more energetic from last 1 day. We are feeling good, everything is happening there. So that is why the local, when we copied something from the outside, you have to think about local. There are something you have in local, but the universities are ecosystem, if you come in a good way, because earlier, because in IT we are, so IT department is, in manufacturing is in a Punjab, the word is boj. Yeah, IT was a boj hai hamare ko. Manufacturing people, Go to Badi. How they treat to IT people? Yeah. So they don't encourage them in a big way. I'm happy. 3 weeks back, Born Bread, they implemented SAP solution, and I'm good. They are taking initiatives. So they are modernizing their way, and if they implement it, they will have a data, they will have an ecosystem. But they will not encourage. The local problem is, so I will came out from outside and then I know the people, but they hire the people from south to they build their system. We haven't tried it. So big manufacturing industry, they not work with us. And a local, we talk about Chandigarh. So there are a lot of opportunities if we think about, we improve our ecosystem.
So what we would all like to take from this is that it's very important for the entire ecosystem to work together, whether it's in academia, whether it's industry, or whether it's research or entrepreneurship. We cannot see them through the same glasses. We have to see them through different glasses. Everyone comes through their own merits and research and even set of challenges. But all of them have to work in tandem. What Vikram ji said, what Navdeep ji said, we need to learn from our history. Reading the books, he highlighted the importance of reading the books. He also highlighted the importance of going through the history so that we don't make the same mistake. When Mr. Inderveer ji said that you have to understand the importance of not reinventing the wheel, because if something is already invented, we need to leverage that thing. So that's something which is very, very important. Now coming to you, Vikram ji, I would just like to understand, when we talk about all these opportunities, हमने काफ़ी सारी opportunity discuss करी है, हमने काफ़ी सारे challenges नवदीप जी ने बताए. So I would like to understand from you specifically, okay, some of the potential risks which are there for any MSME or upcoming entrepreneurs which are there when they start migrating or thinking about going global, and specifically how to mitigate those risks, because the audience would definitely like, because everybody is aspirational कि हमें कनाडा में जाके business करना है, ठीक है, हमें US में जाके business करना है, but what are the challenges, right? Second, how to mitigate those risks.
Right. So again, I think it's just a continuation of our last question as well. So very important to understand, like if you want to go global, the cultural similarities are very important, right? So like how people buy. So every culture is different, right? Though the basics remain the same, right? So if your question is specifically about like Canada, is our second home, right? So that is easy. We can sell there, but. Yeah, so going global for us, like again, coming back to us, what approach we took, maybe like you can then have your own answer out of this, context. So we invested a lot on our content marketing, like how we can, get ourselves in front of the customer, right? And how we can, kind of keep a very close eye on the trends, right? And then produce the quality content around those problem statements on the people what they are looking for. So that has worked for us, and for the locals, maybe the entrepreneurs who are starting off. These are the way I think they must understand the importance of the branding, the kind of like the how they would present themselves, the kind of value proposition out for their business, the services, whether they are into product or whether they are into services, how they are going to project the value proposition to their prospective customer, right? And that is very important. So in order for that to happen, right, so you must have your own complete understanding of what exactly you are doing, right? And again, it's a mix of like the sitting with the, I would say the finance people and sitting with the product people, and then collaboratively creating those value propositions, right? Because till the time you can't tell your customers that what impact your service or your product can create for their customer, right? Again, it's a 4D framework, like the customer of customer. If we understand the customer of our customer, then we are able to sell better, right? And again, Selling happens when you take your kind of like a brand to a level where there is a pull factor as well. So I would say these challenges remain the same, right? These strategies can work across different, kind of like cultures, geographies as well, and investing on your right, kind of like onto the people, having the right people at the right place is very important, right? So that has always worked for us.
That's true. That's true. So, इंदर जी, आपने कहा आप आउटलायर हो, तो हमने कहा कि लास्ट क्वेश्चन पैनल का आपसे पूछते हैं. लास्ट ब्राउनी, many cultures consider to be very lucky the last brownie. Sir, आप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग से हैं. We would like to understand if you could give us one practical example from your sector, probably if you can give it from your own venture. Some of the challenges which you faced and how did you actually convert it into an opportunity? जहाँ पे कि आपने local resources को use किया, local strengths को leverage किया, and then you tapped the international opportunity.
So a lot of the data points are I can't share a bunch of the data points because it's still under development. But anything that you have to do, in the automotive terms, we call it the voice of the customer. You need to have a laser focus on the voice of the customer, which means what your customer wants. And as an automobile, your customer is not necessarily the guy who's going to own or the person who's going to own the vehicle. It's a driver. It's a guy person who's going to be sitting in it. If it's a passenger carrier, if it's a goods carrier, the goods that will go into it. The local police wala becomes one of your important ones. Right, the regulation becomes important, safety becomes important. So the voice of customer is also segmented into multiple parts. You need to have, as a startup founder, the ability to understand the customer, and it's your job. It is nobody else's job to understand that. Right, you can't hire a team, you can't have a sales team do it or a marketing team do it for you. It has to be your own understanding, at least for the first few products, and once you grow in scale, things are different. So the ability to understand what is there, to really pinpoint on the problem. Right, like example I can give, even in India, we make last mile delivery vans, so delivery trucks. The surprising thing in India is, and nobody in this room would know and even visualize this, कि ये हुआ है, and we are competing with somebody like a Tata, Mahindra, Ashok Leyland, all established brands. In case you are delivering goods, and you have, God forbid, you have a flat tire. In all the vehicles, you need to unload the goods first, take out your stepney, change the tire, and then load your goods again.
For commercial vehicles.
Yeah, commercial vehicles, yeah. Can you just imagine the amount of effort to change a tire?
Absolutely.
And this is in plain eyesight for the last 3-4 decades when we have last mile delivery vehicles in India. Nobody has thought through it. So that's the importance of voice of customer. If you ask me about global challenges which we locally, so globally and even in India, safety becomes a very important part. There are ISO standards for safety, fire safety, prevention, right? So we consciously as a brand, as a company, decided to meet global standards, whether we serve Indian customer or a North American customer or European. The standard that we would follow for our vehicle would be same. Yes, the voice of customer may say I need 100 km per hour somewhere, somebody will say 20, that would change, but the standards to design would be the same. And to get those standards, to get the safety standards on from a software perspective, hardware, and automobile today is a product in which you need all the departments of the university. Right, you need mechanical, electrical systems, ECE, software, and I may be missing a few, but you need all of them, right? Instrumentation. So all the departments you think of in your college, you need one person from those departments. And to get this integrated and then build it into a product mindset issue, right? It took us 8 years. We did not hit revenue for 8 years. Spent on it. All of the students we got were interns, as you said, and the whole learning process of 8 years to deliver a product, and now we have a product which we are selling or potentially start sales in the next month. in the Middle East, in Southeast Asia, without any changes, right? That 8 years of effort actually leads to shorter time to market now. But we developed all these know-how and skill sets internally to get ISO 26262, and I'll not get into technicalities, but what we call as FUSA standards, right? We have our own software and hardware team to build on those standards, which even European manufacturers are moving to in 2025. We are 3 years ahead of the European manufacturers,
Wonderful.
and it took us 8 years to develop that skill set. Now we can leverage it for the next decade. So perhaps Tesla is moving to the FUSA standards also in 25. So that's the level of engineering that we have to develop locally, understand from what's happening globally, get Springer research papers all around. We tied up with universities in North America and Germany, co-sponsored projects over there, and got the requisite know-how to build these norms, create safety, and now our products we can deliver, and then the reliability testing is another critical factor, at least in a product, and that's a product mindset issue, right? In a service or a software, you write a software, QA tests it, you can then multiply it, putting it on a server maybe. In a vehicle, you have to ensure that it runs with 95%, 100% confidence for 1 lakh kilometers without a failure. Because it was acceptable in 1990, your vehicle fails and you still do something to run it. But now you need to give that confidence to be available to succeed in this market. So you need to spend a lot of time and money in reliability testing your product, not SIL, which is software in loop, hardware in loop, तो office पे बैठे computer से हो जाएगा आपका. But on the field, even today we run at least 5 to 7 vehicles, accumulating more than 300 kilometers a day, and put in 1 million kilometers just to get the data to see how reliable we could be. So those are the efforts we had to do to bring in some kind of safety features, technologies which were not there globally, and now it is helping us get business. We don't need to re-establish.
So kind of Chinese bamboo strategy. So I think, which is also another testament of the fact that whenever we talk about Chinese bamboo, right, it's a story that it takes 6 years, and then people see the 3-year fast track growth. But I think just trying to summarize because the time is already up. So it's important that bake your own bread, acquire your learnings, read the books, read the history. Do not reinvent the wheel. There is no point of reinventing the wheel. When we talk about local to global, it's also important to understand what has already been done in different markets, acquire the learning, implement the learning. Implement the elements of human engineering. Your team is very important. इन्होंने बहुत एक important point बोला था. अगर आप venture में fail भी हो जाते हो, bring that confidence into the investor that he is your next investor in your next venture. So invest in the promoters, not into the ideas only. So with that, I would like to thank all my panel members and thank you all for inviting us. So I think we do have the time for the questions. Thanks a lot, ma'am. So any questions from the audience? We would be really glad to answer that. Or you can actually, do we have? Yeah. Or otherwise you can connect us.
Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, right. Thank you so much everybody, and it was definitely a wonderful presentation, session, and yes, a very good panel discussion. And undoubtedly, we almost fell bound with your discussion and takeaway points. I would request to call Mrs. Chandandeep ji. She is Director SS Infotech and wife of our past Thai president. She has contributed hugely, and maybe 2 words from you, ma'am, and then we can honor her after this.
Actually, a very captivating discussion. Thanks a lot. I think sitting through, I was listening to each and every word very carefully, and everything was sitting in very, very, wonderfully. So that it was truly captivating.
So we tried our best just to make sure that we could actually stick to the theme.
It was wonderful, and it was a thorough expression of your own experiences, which actually means a lot.
Thank you.
Contact basically.
So please let us honor first. Haji, Navdeep Singh ji. Thank you so much, sir. Vikram Raj. Thank you so much, sir. It was brilliant. Yes, Inderveer Singh ji. Thank you so much. And our own moderator, Mr. Piyush. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we can have a quick group picture also.
Should do a reverse picture also.
Yeah, we
Inspired by Oscar, I think.
the captivated audience, I think we should
One
do
more.
it.
Done. Thank you. Okay, now.